Frisco, Texas, the site of the 2022 Generation Adidas Cup, the premier youth championship in North America. It's MLS versus Liga MX this afternoon. That's LAFC's U15s face off against Club Leon's U15s as well. Welcome everybody to this broadcast. I'm David Goss. This is former MLS player Bobby Warshaw himself. And Bobby, the Generation Adidas Cup, it feels so good to be back.
It feels so good to be here, David, after a couple years away. This tournament means so much to the clubs, to the coaches, and most importantly to the players to come here and play in this environment against this competition. The fields are beautiful, the weather is beautiful, it's wonderful for everyone.
And as you said, this is a tournament group stage to open things up. This is day one of competition, and there's not a lot of wiggle room for these teams to make mistakes. The top team in each group will move on to the round of 16, and then the 6 best second place teams will also move on, so you don't want to start too far behind.
No, especially given the competition that each of these teams are playing today. In MLS versus Liga MX's matchup, Leon versus LAFC, we know what it means at the first team level. We see it all the time in tournaments like CONCACAF Champions League, the rivalry between the leagues. And that starts here, David. Yes, it is intense at the first team level, but the way you win those games in Champions League is you prepare the players at this age.
Let's take a look at those starting lineups. Leon, the first team, our Liga MX representation, Bobby, and there's a couple attackers in this one you're excited to see.
There are, especially when you look up top. We expect them to play in a 4-3-3, and I'm going to look for Greg Lozano on the left wing, number 338.
And on the flip side for this LAFC squad, a ton of talent, one of the highest scoring teams in the season.
Similarly, I think we will see a 4-3-3, at least in the attack out of this team, but keep an eye on box-to-box midfielder Kyron Lumsden, number 5. He's a do-everything player for this team.
And let's take a look a little bit more at our star player there in Kyron Bobby, who's going to try and control things, as you said, for this group.
He is, and so often at this level, it's that player in the midfield that can get on the ball, that can win duels, that can bind your team together. That makes the difference. So we've already seen in various games key players stand out. Lumsden's the one to watch for LAFC today.
We are ready to get kicked off here in Frisco, Texas for the first half. LAFC facing off against Leon. LAFC in their all black kits with their black shorts going right to left on your monitors. Leon, the white shorts and their famous green top going left to right. One of the giants in Mexico. They have turned themselves into one, Bobby, through this academy. They've won championships, not as being the highest spending team, but being as one of the best developers in Mexico.
And we see that through their performances at the youth level. The way these Liga MX teams qualify for Generation Adidas Cup is they have to perform in their league down in Mexico, and this is one of the top clubs there.
First opportunity, Lumsden pushing that one wide. Chance to get to the end line here for LAFC. The pullback whiffed on the clearance, and Leon still able to clear it out. The Carlo Guerra. A big opportunity to burst up the middle. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw with you here on Twitch and on the MLS YouTube page. We'll be in the chat as well all game. So send us any questions, anything you want to talk about in the soccer world, in the youth soccer space. Bobby, this is our favorite week of the year. We've already gotten to sit down with Fred Lipka, the head of youth and technical development for MLS. We've spoken with a number of GMs, a number of technical directors and academy directors. So we are in the space. If you've got any questions about youth development, who's the next Gio Reyna, the next Tyler Adams, we've got you. So a free kick coming up for Leon early on here. 3-man wall for LAFC. Leon fake in the first opportunity.
And the play almost works to perfection. All intentional, faking the first one. It almost works out as they look for the back post after the disarray from LAFC.
Ramirez flying up that left side, found Resic. Now Arteaga going to connect down the middle of the field. But Bobby, we come into this competition. We had the Colorado Rapids in our last game. Max Simpson was their leading scorer on 6 goals. 3 players in this LAFC team have double-digit goals this season. This is an explosive LAFC squad.
You nailed it. It shows their firepower. When we talk to people around the country, who are the teams to watch? The first one they say pretty much across the board is LAFC U15s. People across Major League Soccer, across the continent, have their eye on this team and what they can do here this week.
It is our 3rd game here. Monterrey knocking off TFC's U15s in our first game, 2-0. Pumas knocking off Colorado Rapids 2-1 in our second game. What can Leon and LAFC do here? Resic gets in the box! And an opening goal! Dempsey Resic! And he puts his team ahead in the 3rd minute.
And look at the full academy-wide celebration for LAFC. The U15s joining the 17s, and they deserve it. A fantastic goal across the board, built through the middle, played through for Resic, and what a finish. Left post, left foot, back post. Great goal from LAFC.
3 goals in just 4 appearances this season for Resic. Bobby, an explosive start. We've seen LAFC already a few times break through the lines to open this game up, and Resic puts that one in the corner.
We've already seen from the first 2 games today, David, that it's often those final plays that make the difference. Yes, everyone wants to have ideas. Yes, everyone wants to be combined as a unit. But it's that final play that makes the difference. And MLS teams have missed it so far. Resic sets that straight off the bat.
Explosive opening, the first MLS team to lead here on our field 4 so far today. And Chris Cuellar has to be happy with what he's seen from his group to open things up for the black and gold.
David, one thing that I hope comes through on your screens is the true club identity that LAFC has built with their soccer. That when they hired this new first-team head coach, Steve Trundolo, his job was to carry on.
Arteaga now breaks between 2 defenders, and his shot is saved. Second opportunity taken by Angel Cruz.
The game's moving too fast to talk game models right now. What I was going to finish there, David, is that LAFC have set what their identity is. They have set what their style is.
Arteaga going to work again. Ramirez pulls it back across the box, and it's cleared away.
These kids do not care what we have to say about their game, their club-wide game model.
What a performance so far by Guerra here in central midfield. Arteaga again to his left foot, and his shot sails over the top, but LAFC going into the win, attacking.
3 big chances off the bat, and they've all come from similar plays. Build through midfield, slip a ball into that gap outside of the center back. It led to the first goal. It almost leads to the second goal. And to finally finish it, I hope, David, is how much credit needs to be given to the LAFC organization. John Thorrington, Will Kuntz building what they have, and certainly Bob Bradley, who just left as head coach, to lay their identity so that regardless of who's on the team, regardless of who's coaching it, you know what you're going to see. You know how they're going to play. And it's true whether you're watching the first team or the under 15s.
Shout out to Bill Chill watching out there. This is U15 level. LAFC U15s against Leon's U15s. We also have U17 competition here at the Generation Adidas Cup. We'll have 4 U17 games coming up tomorrow, and we'll be alternating off and on with 4 games every single day through Friday when we reach the quarterfinal stage of this competition. And all the fans out there as well getting to the poll. Let us know who you think is going to win this game. LAFC off to an electric start as Resic here with the interception. Gets on top of the ball. Resic now looking for space. His shot is blocked. Cleared out by Leon.
Resic beyond the goal as a player, you can already see, drives the team forward with his energy. Whenever you're a player in midfield or in defense, you're always looking forward. You're looking at what that striker is going to do to set the tone. And we can see pretty clearly what Resic has to offer beyond just his ability on the ball.
Josh Santiago draws the foul, and you see Lumsden there making things happen in that far right corner. Everyone out there watching. Beautiful day here, mid-60s, sunny, but you can hear the wind ripping through the field. It's coming from behind the Leon goal across the field. So it should be in favor of Leon in this first half, and what we've seen at times to help sort of control the pace of play. But it's been all LAFC to open this game up. So Carlo Guerra standing over this one. All driven over the heads of everyone and out the other side for a throw-in. Lumsden with the ball slipped through, and the left-footed opportunity just over the top from Wanchope.
And that's now the third time we've seen a similar pattern, David. Going back to the idea about the way this team replicates their first team, Bob Bradley instilled that the most dangerous pass in soccer is that ability to play in between the center backs and the outside backs, especially with a wide player coming central and having the chance to shoot after it. 3 big chances created off of those similar slip passes from midfield into the attackers.
Guerra knocks that one down at midfield. Lumsden wings it back. And a good battle between he and Alejandro Ramirez. Both these teams coming out in a 4-3-3. Dylan Offray in goal for LAFC. Across the back four from right to left, Josh Santiago, Christian Villalobos, Sam Bruno, and Dennis Ramirez. The midfield three of DeCarlo Guerra, number 6, flanked by Adrian Aguilar and Kairam Lumsden. And a front three from right to left of Matias Wanchope, the goal scorer Dempsey Resic, and James Arteaga. Space now to move into for Aguilar. Out wide for Arteaga. Arteaga active first half, coming inside. Knocks it back for Guerra. Guerra gets the shot away, and it's just over the crossbar.
And that was the counter move to what we had just said. Now that LAFC has hurt Leon multiple times, they've shifted, Leon that has shifted their outside back central, which allowed Arteaga to stay wide and then run at the defenders. It's beautiful to see these counter movements work and how it forces each team to react.
Leon now building up their left side. Who else but Lumsden with the slide tackle. Leon, Angel Cruz in goal. He's already been beaten once in this game. Diego Cisnega at the center back spot. Pablo Rodriguez as well. The midfield three, Juan Vasquez, Alejandro Ramirez, and Jesus Montero. The front attacking three, Gael Lozano on the left side, Gael Jacob down the middle, and Carlos Gonzalez along the right side. And it has been all work defensively for Leon to open this game up. Ramirez forces the turnover. Good battle here between Ramirez and Rodriguez. And it'll be a foul in favor of Leon. Bobby, 10 minutes in, these are 60-minute games, so 30-minute halves, a third of the way into this first half. How does Leon continue to carry this? Or, sorry, excuse me, how does LAFC continue to carry this performance?
Well, usually you would hear from a coach in a locker room that the first 15 minutes are about finding your feet, to feel the game. Don't make mistakes. Don't allow the other team to get the upper hand. But LAFC has come off the bat and tried to impose their style, impose their speed on the game. And for them, the message is keep going. This is how we train every day. This is how we play every weekend. We are used to the speed of the game. We are used to these ideas. Let's just keep going and more of the same.
Perry, to you out there in the chat, DC United will be on one of our streams. We will have their U17s coming up tomorrow against River Plate. That's our second game of the day. So go to MLSsoccer.com for all your schedule and standings. A group that we're really excited to see. Of course, Griffin Yao, Moses Nyman, Kevin Paredes. DC United, one of the best academies in the country, Bobby, and one of the best groups that we're excited to watch. We have a question here from Abha who says, why is the U15 level so important? And we know that for MLS, most clubs have an age group from U12 all the way up to U17, 18, or 19. The U15 and 17 are the pro player pathways. Why is this age group so important with young players?
Well, just like so many other things, the younger you are, whether you're learning a language, whether you're learning a new skill or a hobby, the more your brain can learn and take in information. And 15 is a nice balance between you're still young enough to learn new things, build new muscle memory, but you're also mature enough to take on the professional task, to understand the tactics, understand the movements that come, and really the pressure that come with being a professional player. So under 15 is so important. It's that balance between still young enough to learn new ideas and mature enough to take on the hard tasks.
And one of the things that's been interesting as MLS has added now MLS Next Pro, 2 teams, reserve sides, plus so many young players playing at a homegrown level, as an opportunity to break through here for Lumsden. Plays it down the right side and the offside flag goes up. but we often hear that this is the purest form of the philosophy, because these players, this team really gets to work together consistently day in and day out.
And the second part to that is the physicality is still less. So there's more soccer being played. There's more implementation of your ideas and your philosophy before the rigors of the older ages start to come in.
This is a special group for LAFC. We've talked about it. One of the most explosive groups in this age group across the country. Every MLS club has a team in this competition at the U17 level, the U15 level. Every MLS team has a group. St. Louis does not yet, as they are still building out their academy, but they do have U17s here. A chance to break through now for Leon. Looking for the equalizer, the slide. Gael Lozano not able to get it under control into the safe arms of Offray.
There we see Gael Lozano starting to be a threat, as we expected, but well defended. Just ride the attacker, put them off balance. You don't have to win it. You just, especially from that angle, have to make sure that they don't make great contact on it.
LAFC, the opening goal in the 3rd minute. We've seen some explosive starts to the half. Monterrey scored in the opening minute of the second half, as did Pumas in our second game, and now LAFC in the 3rd minute of the first half. Make sure to tune in immediately when we come back, anytime there is a stoppage. These young players with only 30-minute halves, they're not wasting a single second. Arteaga has been influential so far in this game. Goes all the way back across to Villalobos, the right center back. LAFC, of course, still a young team in MLS. They've already pushed players into MLS, homegrowns like Eric Duenas, Tony Leon, Christian Torres as well. Those players we all saw here at the U15 level, what was it, 4 years ago, and now they're in MLS training every day and getting on the field in MLS. So these players, that next wave for LAFC. Guerra under pressure. Rolling it across for Bruno. Strides forward now. Ramirez from the left back spot. Gonna play it down the channel with a run of Aguilar. Aguilar puts it out for the goal kick. I love this here from Keishan in the chat, who says, Sergio Aguero debuted in the Argentine League at the pro level at 15 years old, which is incredible to see. We're starting to see a lot of that in MLS. We've got 14-year-olds signing homegrown contracts. Jaziel Orozco made his debut for RSL last weekend at 17 years old. So you're starting to see players play at a younger and younger age, but Sergio Aguero is pretty special. So maybe a bit of an outlier on that one.
I'm picking my brain for who we came through at the professional level, and I don't know the answer. Do you, David?
From Argentina?
Yeah.
Now is he a San Lorenzo Academy? Space here. Aguilar drops it back. All over the top. Not able to be brought down. I was wrong, Bobby. Independiente. Sorry.
Now we know.
I failed you.
You can already see LAFC's comfort on the ball in tough situations. There's moments they make a pass and you think to yourself, that's a tight spot. Is that the right passer? But they're so comfortable that they can receive that pass, and what it does is it brings the opposing defenders tighter and then allows them to attack new space.
Ramirez dropping it back. Now attacking the space down the left side. Slipping it in field for Aguilar. Aguilar showing off his footwork and athleticism. Guerra springs it out wide. Space now to attack for Wanchope. Resic pushes it back out wide for Lumsden. Immediately kept in by Santiago. LAFC poking and prodding here midway through this first half. Ball to the far post. It bounces and it'll roll out for a goal kick. Fortunate maybe for Angel Cruz.
David, that would have been one of the best team goals we've ever seen in Generation Adidas Cup. I can't remember a time when a team had connected that many passes leading to a final chance. But sticking with this theme of continuity through the club, that's what LAFC has ingrained into their players all the way through. They want to use the ball. They want to disorganize the opponent. They want to create chances when they're the protagonist in the game.
Bobby, one of the terms we heard this morning as Aguilar flies forward. Monster collision there. Resic comes away with it. Resic trying to get to his right foot. Another shot, and Cruz saves it.
Resic has the energy of an Arango, huh?
Yeah, he doesn't take a lot of space to get going.
The way he moves, the energy he has, the way he strikes the ball, it really resembles Arango at the first team level, who set himself as one of the top strikers in Major League Soccer.
You see in the background a ton of crowds around here. Bobby mentioned it in the open. A ton of age groups here. Obviously the U17s playing in GA Cup, Dallas Cup happening at the same time. So LAFC have players here. We've got Leon fans in the area. We've got a ton of teams from around the world. Celtic, Manchester United, River Plate, Flamengo. So a ton of fan bases that have come out to support their teams at the different levels. And then you've got scouts, youth national team coaches, general managers, technical directors, a ton of dignitaries that are around the field watching these games as well.
One of our favorite things to happen at Generation Adidas Cup is when a team celebrates with another group from their club. All of the kids coming together, all of the kids supporting each other.
There was a fun group at the last game as the Colorado Rapids U15s played. Their MLS team will play right down the street in a few minutes. Their MLS Next Pro team is playing tomorrow here in Arlington, so it was a great supporters group for them as they fell 2-1 to Pumas.
We can see through the first 15 minutes, David, that LAFC is clearly dominating the tactical battle between the two teams, largely because Leon, through the middle of the field, is struggling to initiate their press. They're in a passive mid-block, and by the time they decide to initiate, LAFC is already creating an overload, largely on this left side, bringing a center midfielder and bypassing them. On the times that the defense does shift over in time, LAFC goes back to the middle and breaks through centrally. And if you're Leon, you have to read that faster to keep your lines tighter so that if you do want to go wide, you're initiating your pressure and you're not letting them go back central, but they need to make faster decisions with how they want to defend.
One of the things that's been impressive to me so far, and we talked to Fred Lipka this morning, and it's a podcast that'll be coming out in a little bit, and he talked about having different gears in the way you play. When to go fast, when to go a little bit slower, and I feel like LAFC has been the best team we've seen so far. The energy in the opening 5 minutes and then the tempo they've played since. Pressure put on now. Juan Chope sends it all the way back to the goalkeeper. Bobby, we've got someone in the chat shouting out Dennis Ramirez, the left back so far for LAFC. He has been a force up that left side.
He has. He's been the main player for LAFC, and largely through his different variety of passes so far. We've seen a couple times clip in behind. We've seen him come across the hips into the center midfield. And that ability to change direction has caught Leon off guard multiple times now.
You can hear the wind blowing through the stadium, from the through the field from behind Leon's goal. So that'll be at the backs here of this free kick, Bobby, which will give it that little bit of extra unknown for Dylan Ufre in goal. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw with you here, the 2022 Generation Adidas Cup. Ball played in. This is the top youth competition in North America with guest teams coming from around the world. Manchester United, AS Roma, Flamengo, River Plate, teams from Liga MX, as well as every single club from MLS, U15 levels here. We are so excited to bring it to you. We have 4 games a day all the way through Friday. This is our 3rd of the day. All 3 so far have been MLS versus Liga MX. Next, we've got Red Bull versus River Plate. Not one that will disappoint as Dennis Ramirez steps forward. He's been one of the stars so far. A third-minute goal from Dempsey Resic as LAFC ahead. Arteaga trying to double that lead all the way through. Wanchope brings it down. Pressured by the defender. Wanchope fighting for it and finally cleared away by Alejandro Ramirez.
What a dominant performance so far from LAFC. We saw in the first two games that Monterrey and then Pumas were the protagonists. They were the ones that controlled the majority of the play against their MLS opponents, but so far through 25 minutes, it has been all LAFC today.
Carlos Gonzalez coming back on. Luis Moreno after taking a little bit of a knock. Pressure put on. All the way back to Ufre. Both these teams filled with youth internationals, both at the Mexican U15 level as well as the U.S. U15s and U17s. Some of the best young players in the region on display.
So here's just a little detail that has helped LAFC right now. So Leon is trying to split them, keep them to one side, but Ramirez is tucked in a little bit. So as this ball comes to him, he has the extra angle. He's not already wide on the sideline. He's in the slightly inside channel with Arteaga, the winger, wide of him, which creates an extra angle that we don't often see. So often we see the outside back with the boots on the touchline, so to speak. But here with Ramirez a little farther in, it gives him the extra angle, and Leon can't figure out how to close him down.
And he has found Aguilar's feet as that inside left center midfielder multiple times. Lumsden now working down the right side. Santiago with a head of steam trying to get to the end line. Good battle there. And in the end, Diego Luna comes away the victor for Leon. 30-minute halves, 60-minute games here in the group stage of the Generation Adidas Cup. If it ends tied, we go straight to penalty kicks for an additional point. We've yet to have a tie, but just throwing it out there. Bobby, final 5 minutes here of this first half. If you're Leon, as the coaching staff, right, hang on here as Lumsden now flies forward. Lumsden isolated in the corner. He's got two defenders. He gets through them, pulls it back. Aguilar trying to bring it down. The shot comes from Wanchope over the crossbar.
Everything about this LAFC team is composed. Lumsden looks two defenders in the face, squares up, takes them on, breaks down the pressure, plays it. Aguilar picks up his head, makes a night. Every moment is calm from this team under pressure. You can see why they are causing so many problems for Leon.
Zaddy, this is Frisco, Texas, right north of Dallas. We are on the grounds of FC Dallas's Toyota Soccer Center. Beautiful day for some soccer. Thank you for the question. An opportunity here for LAFC and the big save from Angel Cruz.
And this time it's not the passing, it's not the composure, it's the pressing that allows LAFC to create the chance. Leon trying to build out of the back, and we actually see the outside in pressure. The wide player from LAFC comes into the center back. We see this from Liverpool. We see this from the U.S. men's national team. It often catches the center back off guard, as it did here, but a big save by Angel Cruz.
Cruz keeping his team in it. He's made a couple saves in this first half after being beat early by Resic. Scara now puts the pressure on, and LAFC wins it back. Bobby, we've got a question in the chat. Who's the player to watch for LAFC? We came in talking about Kyrone Lumsdale, number 5 in central midfield, but I think the list has gotten longer.
It's gotten huge. We've already talked about Dennis Ramirez, but David, I found Christian Villalobos to be extremely important what LAFC does, because his ability to pass under pressure out of the back, but also play across his hips, which he's done a few times, to catch Leon off guard as they've tried to keep the game to one side, has been crucial to unlocking the game for LAFC.
And midfield, number 15, Adrian Aguilar. He's been active, but DeCarlo Guerrero, number 6, dropping in. He has been clean on the half turn. He's gone upfield. He's beat defenders early, and he helps create that opening goal. Arteaga, isolated in a little bit of space, tries to put it by Pablo Rodriguez. Rodriguez recovers. Arteaga continues to pressure. For fans out there, 7 subs allowed in these games for these coaching staffs. 3 moments that they can use all in the second half. And something for fans to watch out for. Charlie Rosenthal, the leading scorer in the season, is on the bench right now for LAFC. They've got more potency they can bring into this game.
Dude, I think if you're Lamb going into halftime, you need to decide how you're going to defend. Because right now, they're in between two minds. They're not pressing. They're not in a block. They're doing some type of passive pressure that's getting played through every single time. And it doesn't always mean you have to work harder and press more aggressively. Maybe it's okay, especially against a passing team like LAFC, to sit in a block, soak pressure, and get them on the counter. But right now, Leon is not doing either, and they're getting broken down pretty much every time.
Leon, a rare opportunity in the attacking third here. The dying moments of this first half.
Of course, it's pretty much every time except for this exact time.
And Leon win a free kick. Can they make this count? Can they steal a first half tie late on here and bring a little momentum into the halftime locker room? Big moment coming. LAFC will have the wind at their backs in the second half, which they'll look forward to.
And from this angle, just a couple yards off the end line, and the wind going hard into the goal, it's a great spot to just whip it straight at that back post, even more than we often see on these free kicks, with the wind, with the angle, with the young goalkeeper.
Leon looking for a goal against the run of play. The in-swinger floated to that far post. Guerra heads it away.
It's the wrong decision there. To try and float something like that to the back post in this wind.
On the flip side, for LAFC, it's what they want to see. A 3rd-minute goal and then dominant from there. Matias Wanchope, a few opportunities. Arteaga as well. It could have been 2 or 3 in this first half, but LAFC looking to go into the halftime locker room leading.
And LAFC's been so dominant that you almost wonder in some way that sometimes you go in and you're disappointed that it's only up 1-0, and actually the opposition, Leon in this case, feels relieved. They feel empowered that, yes, we just got rocked, but it's only a goal. We played our worst and we stuck in there. So there's a little bit of a mind game that goes in at halftime to see who comes out after that break with more energy.
Such a huge part of this game as we see the first yellow card shown of the game. This one to Diego Sinienga. That's such a huge part of this day so far has been halftime. We've seen 2 goals in 2 games in the first minute coming out of halftime. So the question is, as you said, who will have that momentum? Who will feel better? Who can maybe make the changes as well to switch things up? But what a start to LAFC. Arguably the most dominant performance we have seen all day in Group C action. LAFC trying to put themselves ahead. They open up with a 3rd-minute goal. We'll be back in just a moment with all your second half action here on Twitch and MLS's YouTube page.
As players and coaches continue evolving towards a brighter future, the constant battle of reality versus expectation is one many involved in youth soccer constantly face. The reality being, developing a player to transcend and become a professional is a long road indeed.
A U12 player might not make our U13 team the following year. And so we made that very clear at the beginning, that this is the pyramid moves in this direction and it gets harder and harder to get to the top, and the grand minority earn a professional contract, and the grand minority play on the first team.
Luchi Gonzalez, the academy director at FC Dallas, knows all too well the struggles within an academy structure to develop players. But the key to success for Luchi and FC Dallas isn't only about the on-field product. It always transcends more than just that.
We don't see our first team at the top. We see FC Dallas family at the top. They're trying to develop to be an FC Dallas family member for the rest of their life. So they whether they play in our stadium or not, or whether they play in Europe, or whether they play in a senior national team, or whether they play college, or whether they're going to be a doctor, or whether they're going to be a teacher, or whether they're going to be a coach themselves, they're always going to be welcome to our stadium as a fan and as a family member. And so that idea starts at the bottom. So it's important that as a director, I communicate the realities of the pathway, but at the same time create measurable goals for each player and each family, and ask the questions of why. Why are they in the program? Well, I want to be a professional player. Okay. Why else?
The development is a long-term process. That for every individual player there is a plan, and different players mature at different times, and you just got to trust the process. With the club investing so much resources and so much time, energy in terms of each player, we truly have a belief that each one of them has a long-term chance.
They could get cut. They could get moved to a premier team. They could end up being on a national team. And then we got to balance that mentality and how to handle that responsibility of representing your country. They could be getting trainings with the pro team or not. They could be getting a college scholarship or not. They could be talking with agents or not. And then all those situations in the pathway, with each one being different in each age, we have to make sure that we're communicating very clearly with the parents. And as the player gets older, they're becoming more independent. So with the older age groups, it's really more clear communication with the player, because he's a young man at that point, and making sure that we set goals with them that they're responsible for, that the club is responsible for supporting, but that are measurable and that are realistic. And within that process, by the time they're 16, 17, 18, they see it. They see when maybe they're going to get offered a contract or not, or they're professional bound or college bound. But guess what? Our attitude is that anybody can make it at any moment, and it's never too late. We will never tell a kid, you're not going to make it. Because I've learned in this business, never say never with these kids. There's late developers, psychologically, physically, mentally, technically, tactically. So we want to be realistic with the kids, but we don't take away their dream either. But at some point, we do guide them in a direction that's going to favor them to have options and to stay in a pathway.
As the path forward becomes more and more clear for players, what does the future hold? Will North America soon be at the forefront in producing world-class caliber talent?
We are at the beginning of the story in the US. I would say, if I compare with other countries, our country is a baby country. So it will happen. I cannot tell you when, but more and more we will produce very good kids and high-level players. Why? Because right now, when you are 6 and 7 years old, you can play soccer pretty often.
These kids are growing up, and now their dream is to be part of that first team of FC Dallas, of the LA Galaxy. So the fact that they can now see that there's an opportunity, that our clubs are giving these kids that are coming through the academy to play in the first team, it's only going to open up the future more and more.
The game is at the middle of everything we do. The game is the middle of our business in MLS. The game is in the middle of our development. It has to revolve around soccer. So I think that's where we as a country need to continue to strive to get better and educate ourselves and be curious to learn concepts from all over the world, and not generalize this game. This game has a lot of little details and is very thorough, and it's important that we answer for these players in training, that we answer the questions of why, how, when, where in our training environment, so that our kids can understand references and be prepared as they get older to be a high-level player and a world-class player.
I'm excited that I feel like the next generation of coaches, the ones that MLS is heavily investing in, it's a younger generation. I think we're all hungry for knowledge. We're here to get better. And when we get better, our players are going to get better, right? When we get these competitions, our players are going to get better. They are exciting times, in this country, and I feel the potential to catch up to the rest of the world powers is there. The sooner the better, right?
David Goss and Bobby Warshaw with you from Frisco, Texas for the 2022 Generation Adidas Cup, the premier youth championship in North America. MLS's LAFC, the U15s, leading right now 1-0 over Leon out of Mexico's U15s. A ton of fans in the crowd. Bobby, let's take a look at our first half highlights. And for LAFC, it was fluid. It was relentless. The attack was dangerous, and especially their opening goal in the 3rd minute.
Well, it was just fantastic from LAFC. Here we see not just the ability on the ball, but the aggression, the fearlessness, and so much of it was led by number 4 center striker, Dempsey Rezic.
And the assist here from Guerra and Rezic in the 3rd minute, that left-footed strike.
And it was really the culmination of what was a dominant first few minutes of the game that carried on, and a lot of it was driven forward by this man, Kyrone Lumsden, the center midfielder for LAFC.
Some of the best young players in the world on display, and LAFC have been shining. Leon, they had their half chances. They had their looks, but it was all LAFC. Bobby, arguably the most dominant performance we've seen so far. Who's really stood out for you in this game?
Well, we talked before the game about Lumsden, but really for me, the key players have been the ones building out of the back, setting the tempo for LAFC. Dennis Ramirez, the left back number 3, has been excellent. Most of the players flowed through him, but those center backs as well. Sam Bruno, number 17, and number 23, Christian Villalobos, have been excellent, starting the attack, getting the team into rhythm, and setting up the chessboard that gives LAFC an advantage going forward.
So we're ready to kick off here in the second half, 30-minute halves. So 30 more minutes to go in this opening game of Group C play. Vancouver Whitecaps and Chicago Fire, the other 2 teams in this group. The winner of each group will move on to the round of 16, and the top 6 second-place teams will get through. So, Bobby, not a lot of wiggle room to make mistakes in this competition.
No, and David, how often do we see when a dominant team comes in from the first half, comes out in the second half a little flat? There's a complacency problem that happens so often because you go in at halftime and everyone on the bench and the head coach says, great job, keep it up, don't change anything. But the opponent, Leon in this case, had a chance to adapt. They had a chance to make changes, which gives them the upper hand and more energy. They feel like they have something to prove. So we'll keep an eye on whether LAFC can maintain the tactical edge here in the second half.
And immediately, Leon with a dangerous free kick deep in the attacking half. Leon, one of the big clubs down in Mexico, one of the best youth developers down in Mexico. They've won numerous championships over the last few years, all built through their youth academy prospects. So a big test here for LAFC early in this tournament. LAFC, the highest scoring team in the country right now at the U15 level. They showed that potency in the first half, but can they do the work defensively here to open up this second half? Dangerous free kick coming. Carlos Gonzalez standing over this one. He runs off of it. Jesus Montesano now standing over it, ready to take it. Right-footed cross, chip to the far post, headed away. Second chance coming. Leon still alive. And Dylan Offray comes around and is able to pick it up and immediately rolls it out to Wanchope.
But it was another nice delivery from Leon. We can see how dangerous they are in set pieces and how aware LAFC needs to be of every phase.
Big switch of the field. Santiago under pressure immediately off his first touch. Leon win it back. Gaio Lozano can't keep possession. And now the battle down the wing.
And we had said,
opportunity coming here for Leon. Flicked into the box, knocked down, and cleared away. But the offside flag was up.
The start of these halves are hot, huh? Love this. But we said, at the beginning of this half, would LAFC be able to maintain both the energy edge and the tactical edge? Because they were so successful in the first half that they come in for those 10 minutes at halftime and they say, let's keep going, keep it up. Whereas Leon now has something to prove. They have adjustments to make. And they're the ones that will get the kick in the butt to come out. And that's what we've seen so far. We also talked at the end of the first half that they need to either decide if they want to press or block. And we've seen very clearly that they are going to push into their press early and aggressively to try and put LAFC under more pressure.
We got a great question here from Slimy24. He says, is this tournament The Generation Adidas Cup always held in Texas. It has always been held here at Toyota Soccer Center in its history, as Wanchope now gets into the final third. Drives the ball across. Cruz trying to take it. Resic is right on top of it and hits the post, and it rolls in. Dempsey Resic, a goal in the 3rd minute of the first half and the 3rd minute of the second half.
And 2 different types of goals to show his full range as a center forward. The first one was a run off the ball and a gorgeous finish, and this was all about a poacher's mentality. Wait for the mistake and find the tiny little inch to squeeze it into the back of the net. A second goal from Dempsey Resic to put LAFC up 2-0.
What a start to the second half. All 3 games we've had so far have had goals in the opening 3 minutes of the second half. Dempsey Resic, 2 goals in this game. What a performance for him.
And it goes beyond just the goals he scored. Here we see the work rate he puts in, setting the tone for the rest of the team. He clearly wants to be the one to set an example for everyone behind him and following forward to follow.
Now, can Pumas do something we haven't seen yet? We saw Monterrey in the first game play against the ball, score in a couple dangerous moments. Pumas dominate at times in the second game, but took their foot off the gas. They let the Rapids back in it. Can LAFC play wire to wire here for the first time in this tournament and show maybe they're the ones to beat at the U15 level?
Yeah, and going back to the question about why is U15 so important, I think this is a great case study, because what often happens at the professional level is that you go up a goal, you go up 2 goals, and what usually happens for that team, David?
They try and score?
They sit back. You become less aggressive. You become the one that's reactive in the game. Whereas most teams now know that that's a bad. If you look at the data, it's very clear. Being less aggressive is bad when you have a lead. It's hard to tell that to a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old to continue to be the one on the front foot. But 15, you can say, all right, guys, you don't know any better. When you're up 2-0, you actually attack more. You become more aggressive. So it's a great chance for these players that that's the only idea that they know.
Will there be another quiz later for me to make up for my lost points?
In-game quizzes.
Dr. Layups, I agree with you. He said not an easy finish for Resic on that second goal. Guerra heads that one down.
And to everyone watching, keep the comments, keep the questions coming. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us who you play club soccer for. Tell us who you follow in Major League Soccer or around the world. Your favorite U.S. men's national team, U.S. women's national team player.
And don't forget, coming up after this one, the New York Red Bulls U15s facing off against River Plate's U15s here on Twitch and on the MLS YouTube page. Ball through the lines. Resic sitting on a hat trick. Takes his touch into the box, and Angel Cruz comes out and takes that one off his feet.
You can feel the excitement with the hat trick coming. And all the excitement comes out through the touch. Taking a little long. Maybe a little wind a factor there, but a fantastic transition from LAFC. And that one-time ball, was that from Aguilar?
Yeah.
The slip Resic through?
Sorry, no, Arteaga.
Arteaga.
James Arteaga along the left wing has been a factor all game. Now Leon pushing forward. Santiago out to defend. 1v1. Good cutback. Santiago battling away with Gael Lozano. And Santiago able to win that battle. Moreno quickly trying to restart the attack for Leon. Knocked away from Ramirez. Now Juan Vasquez a chance to sit on the ball. And Bobby, this was a player that had been highlighted for us, Juan Vasquez, who's going to sit deep in midfield and control the game. He just hasn't had any touches.
He has not been able to put his stamp on this match at all, David. And that just is credit to LAFC's midfield. We've talked about it before, but Lumsden, Guerra, and Aguilar have been excellent getting on the ball, connecting passes, and then when they lose it, to go get pressure quickly.
And shout out to the fans listening to Bobby. We've got Big Boy Billy from DC, an LA Galaxy fan, though. Don't worry, we've got Galaxy games coming up here on broadcast across the week.
Love that entry ball. Little clipped into the second layer, out of pressure. Excellent technique.
Wanchope picking up the second ball here. Out wide for Arteaga. Arteaga going one-on-one. Arteaga to his left foot, pulls it back. Wanchope gets his goal. Matthias Wanchope has been hunting all game. He finally breaks through. He makes it 3-0 LAFC.
And Wanchope is definitely buying dinner for Arteaga tonight. Puts it on a plate for him. Arteaga goes 1v1 off that left wing. Squares the player up, puts it on the left foot, dips the shoulder. Here comes the cross. No. Just a nice little pullback into the run of Wanchope. And Wanchope stays level, doesn't swing too hard, and tucks it to the far post. Fantastic team goal from LAFC.
LAFC rampant in this one, the most dominant team we've seen so far in this competition here on day one. I mentioned it, LAFC, the highest scoring team in the nation so far. That's in league play and in GA Cup qualifying. Every team in MLS and Liga MX had to play in qualifying for this tournament. Every MLS team gets in. It was just a matter of seeding for Liga MX. Only the top teams in their youth competitions got invited to the GA Cup as this cross comes in.
We knew LAFC U15s would be good, and they're balling, huh?
They've been as advertised. Christian Cuellar, 15 years with the FMF, the Mexican Federation, as a youth coach now, coaching for LAFC against a Liga MX club, and I think his kids have had something to prove here.
So, David, you're LAFC, you're up 3-0, and you have 2 more days of group games to come. How early do you rotate here?
I think what you'll see is you want to play at a high level in these games. I don't think you rotate at all. You have other players that I've talked about it with this group. They've got pieces on the bench already. Charlie Rosenthal, their leading scorer, not starting in this game. So you've got options, but I think you're putting your best group out there to win every single game that you're here for this week. You don't like that answer?
I should have used the word sub instead of rotate. And the answer is that they get to sub soon to give these players a rest and or to give players who might rotate in the second game more minutes right now to prepare.
7 subs available to these two teams, allowed in 3 moments here in this second half. 30-minute half, so 60-minute game in total.
You know what I enjoy watching about this LAFC team too as well, David, is that if someone were to ask us how would you describe them, what was their style of play, you almost can't, because they're good in every phase. You can't break it down to, oh, they're a possession team or they're a transition team. You know what their ideas are because they're consistent from the first team, but they are good in every phase that you can't just summarize them into a single line. That's what always makes up the best teams.
So Jose Sanchez, number 339, coming on here. And if you've never watched a Liga MX Academy team before, Bobby, why are we saying numbers like 339 and not 39?
Because there's only one number 9 in the club, David. So if your first team wears 1, 2, 9, 10, through to 25, you would have the second team pick up at 26 to 50, and then the third team. So this is why we see an under 15 team have numbers down in the hundreds, because they go 1 number per person in the club.
300s with this group. You do see Gael Jakob, center forward, 179. He has played up with an older age group and now being brought to this U15 side for this tournament. So that's why I see it. But as you say, there's only one Cesar Luis Montes in the club. If you're a number 10, you've got to earn that spot.
And we are fans of it conceptually, not fans calling games with the 300s on the back.
The fourth official board is not a fan. It just can't do it. Free kick coming here. A dangerous moment for Leon.
And we've seen similar passes here where they largely chip it or float it to the back center of the goal where their main targets are hanging out.
The Colorado Rapids were down 2-0 in the last game. They got a goal back and put the pressure on. Leon trying to do the same. The punch from Frey. Moreno can't keep that one in. Finally clipped back up the field for Leon.
Good strong punch from Offray as well. You often hear from goalkeepers that the hardest part to develop is the command of the box, but Offray, no issues there.
Wanchope now one-on-one with Moreno. He cuts it back with the heel click. He's got teammate says left, looking for the goal. And he had glory in his eyes.
I don't mind the shot. You know who does mind the shot there? Arteaga. Says, dude, I already gave you one.
Chope, we take a second look here, cuts it back, and as Bobby said, Arteaga and Resic, we're sitting on a pass.
But if we're being honest, anyone that's ever watched a left footer play soccer knows that when they get to that moment, a lefty is going to try and curl it.
Aaron Robin-esque there. LAFC is preparing their first 2 subs of the game. Josh Ochoa and Sebastian Parada will be checking in. This ball knocked down. Ramirez upfield for Aguilar. Aguilar into the feet of Arteaga. Arteaga going to work once again. To his left foot, his shot deflected. And it goes just wide.
He shaped there for a second like he was going to try and chip it, and then he took another touch and tried to drive it near post, which I don't mind. You come near post, you either go low far or high near. He went for the high near option there, and it almost came off.
LAFC U15s leading so far in this competition. The U15 version of the Generation Youth Cup, newer to the scene, the U17s, which we will have tomorrow as well as over the next 6 days, 4 games a day, all the way through Friday when we start the quarterfinals. And that'll be it for Mateus Wanchope, so he gets the goal. And Adrian Aguilar coming off as well. Bobby Wanchope got the goal. We talked about him. Aguilar, though, phenomenal so far in this game.
With the way this LAFC team plays, those 2 box-to-box midfielders, the interlopers, are vital to connecting the game, to counter-pressing, and Aguilar and Lumsden have both been fantastic.
So the corner kick coming for LAFC. It looks like Guerra is the one who's out to take it. The in-swinger. He's clipped all the way over the box. Resic has to chase it back out. Resic able to turn upfield on his defender, and the slide tackle, and the foul is called. Our head official, Cecilia Chavez, right on top of that one.
When a guy loses a shin guard, you know he's here to ball.
I love that a sub for LAFC just came on the field to give Resic a pound for that turn and that foul.
There's a swagger to this team. There's a youthful confidence that's refreshing to see.
So, Lumsden standing over this one as well. Trying to make this lead even safer. Put in on the ground and cleared away. Leon now, an opportunity to break against the ball. Jakob leading the attack. Is his outside of the foot pass, not able to link up. Jakob wins it back himself. Attacking that back line, his shot. Ufre able to push it wide, but not far enough. And Leon have their opening goal of the game.
Leon staying alive. They break on transition. And yes, they get fortunate in variable moments. But if you arrive at the back post, good things will happen. The shot's on target. It forces Offray to make a save. But then Montesano, arriving at the back post, gets a touch just before Offray can make the second one.
So 3-1 now. Leon starting to chip their way back into this one. Roughly 15 minutes left to play in this second half. We saw the Colorado Rapids in the last game almost come back from 2 goals down. Can Leon finish off an even bigger job? As Resic now on the right side, chasing this one down. It'll blow just a little too quickly with the wind coming from behind that LAFC goal.
And an interesting learning moment there, David, which I don't have a great answer to. I'll be curious to hear how the LAFC staff breaks it down. Dempsey Resic here chasing it down, but if we go back to that Leon goal, there's an opportunity from, I believe it was Sam Bruno, to clear it early. He decides not to. He says, I want to keep it. I want to try and play out of the back. It doesn't go well. The transition continues. And there's 2 ways to look at it. First is you're up 3-0. It's a transition moment. You put that ball into the parking lot and let your team recover. The second is you're a good footballer. you can still play with it. Here, it doesn't work out, and Leon goes on to score, but that's the type of learning moment, and it might differ for every club. Maybe the LAFC coaching staff gives a different instruction than the Colorado Rapids coaching staff would, but obviously Bruno needs to execute a little bit better, but it's just a fascinating learning moment for these under-15s.
And the reason that GA Cup exists for these teams is you're talking to a player in Gael Jaco, who we already said has played up an age group with Leon. Maybe his speed, his physicality isn't something that Bruno's dealt with before, and in normal gameplay, league play, he's able to clear that ball.
Exactly.
That's what this competition was built for, to challenge these players in a new way. This one's clipped in, Leon looking for the second. Lumsden able to knock it away. Leon not going away in this one. Opportunity to fight for more goals, and could be huge in the goal difference in the end, or potential points here. Reminder, 3 points for a win in the group stage. 1 point for a draw, but we will then go straight to penalty kicks. The winner of that shootout would get 2 points. The loser would sit on the normal 1 point. There's a little bit of cramping here for Lumsden.
Or not. Or maybe he feels that the shift of energy, and he's trying to slow it down.
That's soccer IQ,
which is what he should do.
Bobby, I mentioned that speed of play, that intensity. This generation Adidas Cup in general. Talk to us a little bit about why we're doing this, what it was built for, what it accomplished.
There's two common themes, David. The first is the ability to play international teams and the unique styles and ideas that they bring. That within a culture, if you play other MLS teams every weekend, you generally know what you're going to see, but all of a sudden you introduce a Liga MX club, or you introduce Flamengo from Brazil, River Plate from Argentina, Manchester United from England, that they will have different concepts that you have to react to. And the second is that feeling in your stomach that comes with pressure. That when you've got real stakes, real consequences at a tournament like Generation Adidas Cup over the week, it creates an environment and a pressure that you can feel that can't be replicated anywhere else, and you can't fake that feeling in the stomach for the kids. So now they have the opportunity to deal with that, because that is the big inflection point between the youth ages and the professional level. It's not necessarily the soccer. It's, can you deal with the pressure when you've got people watching in a broadcast booth and a sideline reporter and all of these things that come with the professional stage.
To be clear for everyone out there, what that just happened was Bobby fell off his chair in excitement about challenging young players in an international environment, as Arteaga now pushing up the field. He's got Ramirez wide of him. Into the feet of Dennis Ramirez, clipped to the far post and taken by Angel Cruz.
Through 4 games a day, stuff happens, David.
Bobby mentioned those international teams. We've got River Plate coming up later today. We've got Santos Laguna tomorrow. Monterrey U17s, Flamengo, who generated players like Vinicius over the last few years. Tomorrow afternoon against LAFC's U17s. So that next stage in the academy, we've got Club Tijuana, Tigres, Manchester United, AS Roma, a ton of teams from around the world.
You've been doing GA Cup largely since it started. Give me perhaps a best 11 of 15 and 16-year-olds that you've seen here before anybody else knew who they were.
I don't know if I can give you 11 of them off the top of my head, as we get a substitute here for LAFC, Jude Terry coming on. But Weston McKennie, Jesus Ferreira, I might just name Dallas players, Giovanni Reina, Joe Scally, Giovanni Simeone,
George Bello, Tyler Adams.
I did not see Tyler Adams here. Bofo Salcedo, a competitor at this competition. Brendan Aronson, Paxton Aronson. What do you think we're at? 8 or 9
most
now?
People that you see on the U.S. men's national team came through this tournament
now.
And
Shaquille Marshall-Ruddy, Jaden Nelson.
And we understand, everyone at Generation Adidas Cup understands that not every single one of these players will make it to the national scene. But if you watch GA Cup, you will almost certainly see players who will end up in a World Cup, in MLS, in a European Champions League. And what separates clubs and what's the moneymaker is understanding who that's going to be and who you can help get to that level.
And this has been, as you said, a proving stage for a lot of young players to show they're ready for that next level. It was an opportunity to see young players. We saw Ben Mines here lead his team to a final and was playing in MLS within 4 months, largely based off his showing his ability to scale his game up to that next level. Shaquille Marshall-Ruddy played U15s here, and now we see him playing in MLS, and the rumors about his time at Liverpool and overseas.
I think the most dominant player that I've seen in my 5 years here was Danny Leyva for the Seattle Sounders in 2019. He now gets first team minutes, but on that 2019 team that won the Champions Division, the first MLS team to do so, he played center midfield and he was everything. He was so good over the length of the tournament.
One of the best players we've seen on his team. He had a Josh Atencio who now starts in MLS. Ethan Doblier we've seen get minutes as well. A lot of talent in that group along with him.
What's so hard about this is, as I said, Danny Leyva was so good at GA Cup. Josh Atencio stood out less on the same team, but has now perhaps had a better start to his professional career, Atencio that is, than Leyva. And it's just so hard to predict. You can see it. The very best scouts and coaches can see it, but for most people it's so hard to decipher who at 15 is going to turn out to be the better pro prospect.
And we have scouts here, a ton of former MLSers, Justin Mapp sitting down beside us, scouting these players, putting in evaluations so that there's sort of an eye on the development and path of these young players and what they look like to people who don't know them as well, right? The coaches day in and day out. This is what we've worked on. This is what you're trying to get better at. These are sort of fresh eyes, but players like Bradley Wright Phillips, Chris Sykes, Justin Knapp, who have been around for a while and know what it takes to succeed at the next level.
What do you, everyone out there, who's the best youth player you've seen? Maybe you happen to see them because they're from your hometown. Maybe you watched an under-17 World Cup. Who's a youth player that stood out to you and you told all your friends when that person was 16 that he's got it?
I would say the three that have happened to me here. The first one was Weston McKinney.
You already had your chance.
I didn't get to say Paxton Pomykal.
Dude, play-by-play people are so lame. You buy yourself 5 minutes.
I didn't get to say Paxton Pomykal. You had to get We're in Dallas. You got to mention the Pax. We saw Cervania and Cerrillo on this stage as well. We got FC Dallas coming up later this week. Consistently one of the most fun academies to watch. Resic here, sitting on a hat trick. We had a great comment in the chat that said, Resic reminds me a little of Luka Modric with the hair chasing the play in the center of the field. We had Dinamo Zagreb at this tournament 3 years ago. Reminder, 30-minute halves, so a 60-minute game. We still have one more game coming up tonight. The New York Red Bulls U15s, one of the best in the country. Youth national team players in their group like Jeremiah White and Ezra Weidman, who have already played at a USL level. They are going to face off against River Plate, who have won this competition, I think, the record amount of times, Bobby, at the U17 level, and they expect to do the same at the U15s.
We have a Shane O'Neill shout for an elite youth player.
Love that.
I did not see that one come in, but I appreciate it. Shane O'Neill came up through the Colorado Rapids Academy, now playing for Toronto FC.
And we saw Porg Smith, the head man for the Colorado Rapids, here to watch his team in the last game. The expectation, he talked to me a little bit at halftime about Darren Yappy, who they believe is ready, and he's next. The young center forward out of the academy. And we've already seen for LAFC, they're starting to use Eric Duenas, Christian Torres in MLS games. These players not far off from that opportunity. Dempsey Resic, the 3rd-minute goal to open things up, the 34th minute goal to get the second half started. And then Matias Wanchope, his opening goal off the assist from Arteaga in the 39th minute to make it 3-1. Leon getting one back through Jesus Montesano in the 47th minute. That has us here at 3-1. The largest score we've seen so far was Pumas, a 3-1 win over the Colorado Rapids. Can LAFC outdo that one? Bobby, so far we've seen 6 teams here, 3 games so far at the U15 level. What stood out to you?
The 2 teams that were the bravest in the way they went about playing have been rewarded for it. In the second game, Pumas were just excellent, building out of the back, pressing high, keeping everything compact, and similar with LAFC, the way they've connected passes from the center backs, the way they've built through Ramirez at left back could have potentially left them exposed, especially at a young age, as these players developing their technique, but they were rewarded for it. And that's what you want to see, because you can always grow your technical ability, but it's that emotion, it's the ideas that are more important. And those two teams, Pumas and LAFC, demonstrated them really for the full 60 minutes.
Leon with the set piece, driven to the far post, headed on goal, a huge save from Offray. A quiet game, and the goalkeeper comes up massive in the dying moments.
Just spectacular. In my mind, I was preparing the line for 3-2, game on, and Offray comes out of nowhere to get a fingertip on it.
He comes with the high hand, the huge save. Corner kick played in now. It bounces in the box. Still alive for Leon, and cleared away by Jude Terry.
And this is what you need to put together performances like this. Yes, the soccer from box to box is important, and we've seen it from LAFC, but they've also shown up in the boxes with their finishing and now with their defending.
Ramirez, he's been electric from that left back spot all game. Bobby, I got...
And so much credit to Offray, who could have done better on the Leon goal, doesn't get the save wide enough, but here he gets another chance, and one of the best saves you'll see all week, one of the best saves you see at any level, to getting up, top hand, touching it wide.
A chase on here up top. LAFC trying to make it 4, and Ochoa puts his shot over the crossbar.
And you had mentioned how dangerous this LAFC team can be off the bench. The players they have to bring on and change a game if need be, or continue to be the aggressor if they have the advantage. And that's what they've done with these attackers.
We have 7 more days of this competition, and it's only going to get more intense and more dramatic as we move deeper into the group stage. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing, stay tuned on Twitch. Go to MLSsoccer.com for the full schedule, 4 games a day through Friday. Then we've got quarterfinals and semifinals, the U15, U17 levels. It's only going to get better as we enter a minimum of 3 minutes of stoppage time. Guerra letting that one bounce over his head. I got to get this in, though. Dr. Layups in the chat said he wasn't a youth player, but he had season tickets when Kyle Larin was a rookie. And he saw what we're seeing, which was the best goal scorer in CONCACAF.
That's a good shout.
I don't want to get yelled at for being a play-by-play, but I saw him in college, and I thought he was pretty good as well. Guerra now breaking through. He's got teammates in the box if he wants it. He goes by the defender. His shot into the side netting.
He did all that. The number 6 says, watch me go. All right, Arteaga. All right, Resic. All right, Wanchope. It's my chance. It's my time.
And you can see in the background all the players ready for the next few games. Red Bulls and River Plate coming up 8 p.m. Eastern time here on Twitch and the MLS YouTube channel. The final game of a 4-game U15 opening day. We're back on tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. River Plate U17s against DC United. Austin FC U17s against Santos from Mexico. And then the Red Bulls U17s against Rayadas at 2 p.m. Eastern time, all the way through LAFC's U17s against Flamengo at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So a ton more soccer to be played here at the Toyota Soccer Center in Frisco, Texas. 2022 Generation Adidas Cup. We are back for the first time in 3 years. And we have started with a bang. Monterrey, the opening win over TFC on this field. Pumas, a 3-1 victory over the Rapids. And right now, LAFC sitting on a 3-1 lead. Ramirez into the box. Ramirez still looking for more for his team. Battling along the left side of the box, surrounded by green jerseys. Dennis Ramirez fighting still. He's able to get to the end line. His pullback is intercepted.
Ramirez deserves to get on the score sheet today. He's been good. He's been vital And once again, the shin guard falls out, and the kid balls.
It's a half.
It's a rule.
It's a half goal for Bobby on his scoreboard. Shout out in the chat there to Andrew Samuel, a Quakes U17 player. We will have your game coming up on Monday. The San Jose Earthquakes U17s will be here on Field 4, facing off at noon Eastern Time against River Plate. It's going to be a big one. Shout out to all of you out there in the chat joining us for this one. Pressure put on. Bruno with the big clearance. A mistake, and that'll be it as Cecilia Chavez blows the whistle. One of the most dominant performances of the early part of this competition. LAFC, an opening goal in the 3rd minute from Dempsey Resic, and they don't look back. A 3-1 win here at Toyota Soccer Center to close things off in Group C and take the early 8:03 Eastern Time game. So Twitch, Jenna. Generation Adidas Cup U15 action. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw with you from Toyota.